See, babe. Sit back. Sit back. It's the Looney Show. You know what up?
Have I been closely tracking everything that is going on with Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns? Yes. And what I think is happening to that young man is something that I've experienced, something that a lot of young Black people who grew up with unapologetic privilege have experienced once we're kind of in the workplace, is jealousy and punishment because of your upbringing. Let's get into it. Privilege works differently when you're Black than it does for any other race of people. Because of the way that our social hierarchy is set up and the structures within it, of like racial hierarchy, the racial caste system, Black people are on the bottom. So when a Black person gets from the bottom to the top, people question that. It makes them feel bad about themselves, because if a lowly Black person can get somewhere that I can't, what does that say about me? It seems like when you are a Black person who benefits from like the fruits of labor of what parenthood is supposed to be, where you're nurtured and you're taken care of and you are encouraged to pursue your passions and your dreams and you become good at them, there is a level of suspicion because you're not supposed to get there. I keep talking about this level of suspicion because that's seemingly what it is for Shedeur Sanders. Again, I'm not an avid football watcher, but I think it's weird that when he goes in as the quarterback and throws the game-winning touchdown, the coach does not talk about him. That's weird. The quarterback is supposed to be the leader of the football team. I know that. There's a level of suspicion and the assumption of arrogance when you are good at what you do. And people want to humble you. And I think that's what is happening, is people are trying to humble him. Do I follow football?
Okay.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yes.
And I chose that video because technically me and Looney come from privilege. Mm-hmm. And I say technically because we have two moms and people will say that's dysfunction, but we actually came from money, privilege. So that's a lot to unpack, being Black and privileged.
Absolutely. I can say, for the situation that now that this young lady was discussing it, she did a great job of talking about it, by the way. She really hit on this point very well. Obviously, she was talking from experience. Mm-hmm. Obviously, very it's like very lovely young girl. I was very one thing that me and Kay can really really get for, it's like she said, we are both very privileged. We were both grew up very privileged, and when you get into these certain spaces, and when you're around all these different white people, there is this level of they're looking at you with suspicion, and especially when you're doing well when you're good at it. Uh-huh. When people ask you certain things about where you come from, when things like that. And so it just, it goes hand in hand. White people are very interested in how you got there, or how your family got,
Like she said, level of suspicion.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's it's a level of suspicion.
How?
How did you get it? And when I was because one example is that when I was growing up in the neighborhood that I was in, most of the Black families that did have a lot of money or came from money in my area that I grew up in, their fathers were professional athletes. They either played for the Seattle Supersonics, the Seattle Mariners, or the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, are you a athlete? Are you an entertainer? Not doctor.
Yes.
Are the only acceptable forms of currency for you to be privileged as black.
Right, and this was in the 90s. So this was so like that was very, and that was very common. And mind you, the people that I mentioned, the black folks that I mentioned, the black families, knew them anyway. Okay? So it was just like, that's how it was. So it's just like we had that camaraderie with these other black families. I just think, like, with white people, they have this level of suspicion because they see how we use our money, especially when we get to where we are, and how we I guess how we look when we have our money. And it gets down to, like, I saw this I saw this video. It was just like a short clip, but it was an example of, like, how these how this black it was this black family that moved into this, like, I guess predominantly white area, or whatever the case may be. It was like, it was like middle, like it was like lower middle class up, up, like right to the middle, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And so these white people were out there, they were, like, obviously, like, talking about this black family, or whatever the case may be, and talking about the fact that they were driving a brand new Lexus. Yeah. You've seen this, right?
Yeah, I've seen that one. Mm-hmm.
And it's, and mind you, it's just like looking at the man who was talking about this man looked Hispanic as I don't know what. He did. Okay? Hispanic as I don't know what. Like, he looked like his name would be like Juan. Like Juan Gonzalez. Okay? That's what it looked like his name would be. And he was talking about this black family, this black family who was driving around in a brand new Lexus. You don't know what that man does for a living, where he can afford this Lexus. You don't know what his wife does for a living to where they can afford this Lexus. They're moving into this home so that they can sit here and get a better one, maybe. Because clearly, if they have neighbors like you, they're definitely trying to get up out of there. They're not going to stay there long. If you hating on them having a brand new Lexus. Now and the thing about it is, with the, and the funny thing is they were joking about, the Head Start. You have this Head Start, and you're mad about a black person having something that we worked hard for, and we did it in less.
We had to work hard for it.
I'm sorry,
double time, triple time.
And we did it in less time with no reparations.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think that really grinds your gears. And it's not surprising.
And I just think, like, to touch on the level of suspicion, as she was saying and Looney was explaining, this is what my take on it is. Yeah, we did it in lesser time with lesser things. But I think what really pisses them off is, no matter how far we get, we can't progress over them. So the constant how you got, why you got, they need to justify, okay, if he's an entertainer, okay, that's an entertainer. Makes sense why he has more money than me. Because that's what the monkeys do. If they're an athlete, that makes sense. Nothing else correlates to them or why this Negro should have more money than me. And when we get out of that cycle, when we're doctors and the things of that nature, it doesn't resonate, because the only thing that's acceptable to be in that box of making more money than them is those. And it has, the thing about them is, I am fine as long as you're not doing better than me. And the level of suspicion comes from, I need to know why you're here. So these questions come from, I need to justify if it's legitimate hate Or it's okay. This nigga girl got here from tapping, dancing, singing songs. That's what the Negroes do. But when you go out of that comfort zone, that's that level of suspicion, because you're not supposed to have more than me if you're not doing these jobs, because these the only jobs that I allow you to make money. It's all about control, suppression, oppression.
Absolutely.
And you'll notice that even Trailer Park Becky will have a problem with us if I'm not lower than her. And that's that. And I can't justify. I can't sit here and be a customer service rep and own a house and Becky's in a trailer. She has a problem with that. Now, I can sit there and be an athlete's wife, own a house. Becky, okay, she understands why I'm in that position, because I'm a wife of an athlete.
Absolutely.
And with the level of suspicion. Also, it's just like they cannot fathom why you're here, why you're around us, because there's only certain qualifications or where you can fit in this box. Other than that, you're marginalized. But to me, the problem is because that, like she said, we are not where we should be. We are acting out of turn. We are out of place. And they're crashing out because they need that control back. They're losing control of the Negroes.
Mm-hmm. They've been losing their grip for quite some time on us.
And with privileged Negroes, they're starting to realize a lot of us are privileged and we don't have athletes and entertainers as parents.
No.
They're starting to understand that we're working 3 times harder, and that's why we're achieving. Mm-hmm. And that even when the odds are against us, we're still achieving. Guys, everything is propaganda. I'm going to let y'all know. Everything was made to prevent us from accessing it. So why would you think that it's more black women on welfare if we're not meant to have it? Why would you think it's more black women on Section 8 and receiving these benefits when we're not meant to have it? Everything is restricted. We're actually doing all this without it. Black women are working, and black men are working hard, getting their degrees, elevating ourselves without this. And now they're just starting catching up. And the sad thing about it is, they had all this opportunity, but they didn't take advantage of it because everything was already given to them. They never thought, because of the system that was set up to oppress us, that we will overcome and somehow get ahead, because it was set up for their benefit. They knew this. Y'all don't understand. They knew it was set up. It is definitely systematic oppression because it was set up for their benefit. The anger is because that we are sitting there dismantling the system that was set up to make sure that they always had advantage. That's where the anger is, because if the system was working, would be no problems.
Absolutely. It doesn't work because the system doesn't work because a lot of the problems is that it's a lot of poor white people. I can say that because
living off of the benefits, because they didn't have to do nothing because everything was set up. They stopped working and stopped achieving and stopped doing anything and stopped elevating.
Well, yeah, but the thing about it is, people don't talk about this, but
they got complacent.
There are a lot of poor white folks.
Oh, it is.
And like, that's the thing that is the misconception. I don't like, and I'm sorry. I'm just saying that because of the simple fact, I did not, even where I'm from in Washington State,
yeah,
I did not know a lot of white people. There was very few white people that I knew with like massive amounts of wealth. Mm-hmm. Just being completely honest.
Like, everything's propaganda, yo.
Yeah.
They're poorer than us. They're dirtier
Yeah.
than us. They're nastier than us. They're more ghetto. Like, yo, everything is propaganda because they need to keep us down.
They definitely, it's just like there's this whole thing about that white people are just like have everything. I'm like, no, they don't have everything. There's a lot of them that don't have everything.
We're married together.
You know, they have
We're
all
raising
these
families together.
a lot of kids. You know what I'm saying? I was like broken homes, same thing.
Think about it, guys. Why would we still have single family households or males not involved with their kids if our generations grew up without our dads? Didn't we do everything our parents did not? You as a dad growing up in the 80s and the 90s, aren't you involved? Because we did everything our parents did not. So you're really listening to them, telling them that they're single family households? No, they're not. Our generation didn't do that. It changed it. Our generation started to change of everything.
It did. And
now the numbers of our changes are coming out.
yeah, our changes when it comes to black, when it comes to like how white people just view like our progress and the things that we do, they are so stuck in a very different time loop. I think for white people, I feel like for me, it depends on, I feel like they're stuck between either 1985 or in 1995. and I'm just being real. And even like the Gen Z kid, even the Gen Z ones and the millennial, like racist, MAGA, like whatever you want to call them. You know what I'm saying? Poor, uneducated whites. Whoever they are, they really, they really hold a big disdain, but they have been, I was like, you all have been, used to sit here and hold us back for a lot of years.
Poor white people.
Yeah, to police us. That's why you all get
Since slavery.
Yeah.
Poor white people was the ones that were running
rounding
the
us.
plants.
They were rounding us up when we ran.
Yeah. Not only that, work in the fields. They were the ones being the police of the fields. Those white men weren't out watching them. They had them poor white trash watching fields.
They did.
You're better than them.
Yeah. They're doing, like, it was just like your family members were doing we're doing all the other work. Mm-hmm. You weren't getting anything. You didn't have any slaves.
Who was policing the fields before we had coons?
Exactly.
And we only had a certain amount of coons.
Exactly. And a lot of these poor white people who have come from generations of poordom, okay? Of just poor generations. None of you have learned from your terrible past. And you haven't gotten any better. And then you see somebody like myself who is basically just a product of their environment, because this is where I came from, because I was raised by my grandparents. I was raised by my baby boomer grandparents who were kids in the Jim Crow South, who came up, went to HBCUs, and thrived. I mean, I was just like, in a way that you know what? I'm not even gonna say they thrived. My grandparents survived. And they should have, and honestly, they should, it was just like, as well as they did it, as my grandfather and my grandparents did it, I was like, if they were white, it would have been way more if they were white. Mm-hmm. If my grandfather and my grandmother were white, and if you looked at their whole resumes, and if I didn't tell you they were white, you would just assume automatically that they were white.
Yeah, but we already know that. We got to do things sometimes
differently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is, it's just like, it kills me to think about how hard my grandfather worked and still didn't get the worth that he deserved.
Amen.
Like that's the thing that gets me. Like, he should be living large. He should be living like lavishly. You know what I'm saying? Shit, he and my grandmother should be divorced kind of money. Okay? At least.
You tripping on that. We don't do divorce over here. But anyway.
You know what I'm saying. Okay? But I'm just saying, like, there should have been, like, it's like he should have gotten the things that he deserved with the work that he put in. And it shouldn't have been any different just because of the simple fact he was a black man. But he did all these things, and there's always this level of suspicion of how he got there, why he's there. Like, it gets back to the level of suspicion.
Yeah.
It always gets back to it, and it's just like, why do white people feel like that we got there from nefarious ways? Like, we don't go to school. Like, there aren't historically black colleges and universities all across the United States. So it's just, it's very, it's just very disingenuous of white people to continue to act like that we don't exist. That's what it just really gets down to for me.
And that goes off of me. A lot of y'all may think like, okay, really? She's privileged? Like, look how she sounds, look how she acts. But I didn't want to continue to adopt that good Negro type of mentality and attitude. Because how I speak and how I communicate with my people is our language. And I was completely fine with that. So I went ahead and I adopted myself, my culture. And I stopped conforming to the good Negro and speaking proper English. Our vernacular is a language, because a language is how you communicate amongst one another. And that's how I communicate with my people, and it is legit. Who are you to tell me that it's not a form of communication because you say I should communicate this way when you have Hispanics that speak Spanish, Latins that have Latin, French that have French and Creole. All those are languages formed to communicate amongst individuals. So who are you to say my English vernacular and how I communicate with my black people is not proper?
It's not proper because they don't understand it.
Exactly, because it's a language and it's how we communicate, and we needed to communicate
and it's
without them.
And it's quite advanced. But honestly, that's
very much so.
Honestly, and that's actually a whole nother discussion.
Yes, definitely, because they adapt our English vernacular when it seems fit. Hey, sister.
Girl, shut up. That's what I want to say to you. Is please be quiet. I'm not your bro.
That is definitely another conversation, y'all. Please like, subscribe, comment.
Do something, please. Send us an email. We haven't got one email from y'all.
No.
We miss y'all.
Y'all viewing it, so hey.
We appreciate the engagement.
We really do.